You know that moment? You're sitting at a restaurant. The menu is right there in your hands, and you're squinting, holding it farther away, tilting it toward the light, and you think, when did this start happening? Or maybe it's night driving. You used to love it, the open road, the quiet, just you and the headlights cutting through the dark. But now, the oncoming lights blur into these halos, these streaks, and you grip the wheel a little tighter than you used to because something feels off. Maybe you've noticed your eyes feel dry by afternoon, scratchy, like there's sand under your eyelids that wasn't there 5 years ago. You blink, you rub them, you drink more water. It doesn't really help. And here's the thing most people do. They chalk it up to age. I'm getting older. This is just what happens. They go to their optometrist and get a stronger prescription, maybe pick up some eye drops at the pharmacy on the way home, and the drops help for a few hours. Then it comes back, the blur, the fatigue, the strain. If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you changed how I think about vision completely. And I've been working in health and wellness for over 20 years. What's happening to your eyes right now? It isn't just aging, it's something deeper and something quieter, something that's been building for a long time, and something that, with the right information, you can actually do something about. Tonight, while you sleep, here's what nobody tells you at the eye doctor's office. Your retina, that thin, delicate layer at the back of your eye, it's one of the most metabolically active tissues in the entire human body. Think about that for a second. Your retina works constantly. It's processing light, sending signals to your brain, doing all of this microscopic, extraordinary work every single second your eyes are open. And to do that work, it needs oxygen, it needs nutrients, it needs blood flow. But here's what happens as we age. The blood vessels that feed the retina, they start to narrow, the circulation slows down. And the retina, this incredibly hardworking tissue, starts getting less of what it needs, less oxygen, fewer nutrients, less of the raw material that allows it to repair itself overnight. And this is the part that really stopped me the first time I understood it clearly. Most of the repair happens while you sleep. Your body uses those hours, the deep sleep hours especially, to send nutrients to damaged tissues, to clear out waste, or to rebuild, and your eyes are part of that process. But if the right nutrients aren't there, the repair doesn't happen the way it should. The damage accumulates, slowly, quietly. You don't notice it day to day, but over months, over years, it adds up. And one morning you wake up and the world looks a little softer than it used to, a little harder to read, a little less sharp. Research out of institutions including Harvard Medical School and the National Eye Institute has been pointing toward this for years. The connection between nutrition, circulation, and retinal health is not fringe science. It's increasingly well supported, increasingly clear, and increasingly ignored in standard medical conversations. Because it's not a drug, it's not a surgery, it's not something a pharmaceutical company can patent and sell. It's food. These specific compounds found in specific fruits. Compounds that have been studied in clinical settings, published in peer-reviewed journals, and quietly, very quietly, shown to support the kind of overnight cellular repair your eyes desperately need. That's what we're talking about today. Let me be honest with you about something. I don't say this to be inflammatory. I say it because I think you deserve to hear it plainly. The eye care industry, it's by and large, is built around symptom management. You come in with blurry vision, you leave with glasses, you come in with dry eyes, you leave with drops, you come in with something more serious, macular degeneration, cataracts, early glaucoma, and the options are more complex, more invasive, more expensive. Surgery, injections, procedures, all of these things have their place. I'm not telling you to throw away your glasses or cancel your appointments. Please don't do that. But here's the question nobody asks you in that office. Why is this happening? Not just, here's the problem, here's the fix, but why is this damage occurring? What is driving it at the cellular level? And what can we do to address that root cause? Not just the symptoms sitting on top of it. Because there are root causes, 4 of them keep showing up in the research over and over. The first is oxidative stress. Your eyes are exposed to more light, more UV radiation, more blue light from screens, than any previous generation in human history. That light exposure generates something called free radicals inside your eye tissue. And free radicals are destructive. They damage cells. They damage the delicate structures of the retina and the lens. And unless your body has enough antioxidants to neutralize them, the damage wins. The second is chronic inflammation. Low-grade, invisible, systemic inflammation. It doesn't announce itself. There's no fever, no swelling you can see. But inside the eye, inflammation disrupts the tiny blood vessels, damages the macula, contributes to conditions like macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy. It's slow, it's quiet, and it responds to what you eat. The third is poor circulation. The capillaries feeding your retina are extraordinarily fine, among the smallest blood vessels in your body. When circulation is compromised, when those vessels are stiff or narrowed or not carrying nutrients efficiently, the retina suffers. It doesn't get what it needs. Repair slows. Deterioration speeds up. And the fourth, and this one surprises people, is glycation. When blood sugar is consistently elevated, sugar molecules attach to proteins in the lens of the eye. They form something called advanced glycation end products, AGIs, and these AGIs cloud the lens. They contribute to cataract formation. They stiffen tissue, and they're incredibly hard to reverse once they've set in. Eye drops don't address any of that. A stronger prescription doesn't address any of that. Even surgery, as remarkable as modern surgical techniques are, doesn't address the underlying cellular environment that caused the problem in the first place. That's the gap. And that's why what I'm going to share with you today matters. So, what does address it? This is where I want to take a breath, because this is the part I genuinely find exciting, and I've been in this field long enough to not get excited easily. Over the last 15 to 20 years, a quiet but steady body of research has been building around something called phytonutrients, natural compounds found in plants, specifically in certain fruits. And what this research is showing is that some of these compounds have a remarkable, targeted ability to cross the blood-retinal barrier, which is the protective layer around the eye, and actually reach the tissue that needs help. Once they're there, they neutralize free radicals. They reduce inflammation, they improve microcirculation, they protect the photoreceptors, the rod and cone cells that are literally responsible for your ability to see color, detail, and depth. Some of these compounds, particularly lutein and zeaxanthin, actually accumulate in the macula. Your body concentrates them there. Because your macula, that central area of the retina responsible for sharp, detailed vision, needs a constant supply of these specific molecules to stay healthy. Studies published in journals like Ophthalmology, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and JAMA Ophthalmology have documented measurable improvements in visual acuity, contrast sensitivity, and protection against macular degeneration in people who consistently consume these compounds. And here's the part that connects everything. These compounds, when consumed in the evening, in the hours before sleep, time their peak absorption with your body's natural repair window. The nighttime hours when your cells are most actively cleaning up damage, rebuilding tissue, restoring function. You're not just eating fruit, you're giving your eyes the raw materials they need to repair themselves. While you sleep. That is real, that is documented, and that is what the next section of this video is all about. My name is Dr. Anton. I've spent over 20 years working at the intersection of conventional medicine and evidence-informed natural health. My focus for most of that career has been older adults, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, who are dealing with the very real, very frustrating experience of watching their health change and feeling like they don't have enough tools to respond. Vision loss is one of the things that comes up most, over and over, and in every practice setting I've worked in, because it isn't just a medical problem, it's a fear. It's the fear of losing independence, of not being able to drive yourself to the grocery store, of not being able to read the book on your nightstand, of not recognizing a face across a room. I take that seriously, and I do not make recommendations lightly. Everything I share in this channel is grounded in research, published, peer-reviewed, reproducible research, and filtered through clinical experience with real people who had real results. What I'm sharing today is not a miracle cure. I want to be clear about that. But it is a legitimate, research-supported set of nutritional strategies that can meaningfully support your eye health over time, and they're things you can start tonight. Before we get into the list, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? What city, what country, what part of the world? Drop it in the comments. I read them. Genuinely, I do. And if you're experiencing any of the symptoms we talked about in the opening, the blur, the dryness, the night glare, tell me that too. You're not alone in this, not even close. Today, I'm going to show you 10 fruits that research suggests can support overnight eye repair. 10 fruits, each one targeting a specific mechanism of eye damage. Each one backed by science, each one available at your local grocery store or farmer's market. I'm going to tell you what each one does, why it works, how much to eat, and a pro tip that most people don't know. A small trick that can significantly increase how well your body absorbs these nutrients. The number one fruit on this list targets what I consider the single most important root cause of age-related vision decline, so stay all the way to the end. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, kiwi. Most people don't think of kiwi as an eye food. They think of oranges, maybe carrots, the classics. But kiwi might be quietly one of the most powerful things you can eat for your eyes, and almost nobody talks about it. Here's why. The primary problem kiwi targets is oxidative stress, that accumulation of free radical damage in the delicate tissues of the lens and retina. And kiwi contains a surprisingly high concentration of lutein and zeaxanthin, the two carotenoids that your macula literally accumulates and uses as its primary line of defense. What's remarkable about kiwi specifically is the bioavailability, the degree to which your body can actually absorb and use these compounds. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that consuming kiwi regularly led to measurable increases in macular pigment density, the protective layer in the center of your retina that shields against light damage. More macular pigment, better protection, clearer central vision. The research has also shown that kiwi's exceptionally high vitamin C content, higher per gram than oranges actually, helps protect the lens of the eye from glycation damage. Remember we talked about glycation? Or sugar molecules attaching to proteins and clouding the lens? Vitamin C is one of the compounds that actively interferes with that process. In real-world terms, people who consistently consume kiwi report improved contrast sensitivity, the ability to distinguish between shades, to see detail in low-contrast environments. That's the difference between reading a menu in a dim restaurant and struggling to make out the words. How to use it? Eat 1 to 2 kiwis in the evening, roughly 60 to 90 minutes before bed. That timing matters. It aligns your absorption window with the body's nighttime repair cycle. You can eat the skin. Most people don't know this. The skin is edible and contains additional fiber and antioxidants. Just wash it thoroughly. The texture takes some getting used to, but if you can manage it, you're getting more of what makes kiwi powerful. Pro tip, avoid eating kiwi with dairy. Dairy can bind to certain antioxidants and reduce absorption. Eat it alone or pair it with a small handful of nuts. The healthy fats in nuts actually increase carotenoid absorption significantly. Number 9, watermelon. Stay with me here. Because when people hear watermelon, they think summer, picnics, mostly water, not much nutritional value. That is not the full story. The root cause watermelon targets is inflammation, specifically vascular inflammation in the tiny capillaries feeding the retina. And the compound responsible for that is lycopene. Lycopene is a carotenoid, a pigment compound that gives watermelon its red color, and it is a remarkably potent anti-inflammatory agent. Studies published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry have found that lycopene specifically reduces inflammatory markers in eye tissue, and that populations with higher lycopene intake show lower rates of age-related macular degeneration. What lycopene does inside your eye is quiet but important. It suppresses a process called NF-κB activation, the molecular switch that turns on inflammation in cells. When that switch is chronically on, as it is in many of us over 50, It creates a low-grade inflammatory environment in the retina that slowly, steadily causes damage. Lycopene helps turn that switch off. There's more. Lycopene also has a protective effect on the retinal pigment epithelium, a layer of cells that supports and maintains your photoreceptors. When that layer breaks down, photoreceptors die. And when photoreceptors die, vision loss follows. In real-world outcomes, reduced eye fatigue, less sensitivity to bright light, and over time, protection against the macular deterioration that so many people over 60 experience. How to use it? 1 to 2 cups of fresh or thawed frozen watermelon about an hour before bed. If you're using fresh watermelon, let it come to room temperature first. Cold fruit can slightly inhibit absorption. Pro tip: the white rind just inside the green skin contains citrulline, a compound that improves blood flow and circulation. Don't throw it away. Blend it into a smoothie or just eat a little of it along with the red flesh. Most people discard the most vascular supportive part of the fruit. Number 8, black currants. These are harder to find in some parts of the world, worth hunting for, because black currants contain one of the most specific, well-researched compounds for nighttime vision and retinal repair that exists in the entire plant kingdom. Anthocyanins, specifically a form called cyanidin 3-glucoside. The primary problem black currants target is photoreceptor fatigue and slow dark adaptation, the sluggishness many people over 50 experience when moving from bright to dim environments. That moment when you walk into a movie theater from the afternoon sun and everything goes completely dark for what feels like too long. That's your rods, your nighttime photoreceptors, struggling to recover and reset. Blackcurrant anthocyanins have been shown in multiple Japanese clinical studies to accelerate rhodopsin regeneration. Rhodopsin being the light-sensitive protein in your rod cells that literally makes night vision possible. When rhodopsin is depleted by light exposure, it needs to regenerate. In younger eyes, this happens quickly. In aging eyes, it slows down significantly. Blackcurrant anthocyanins support and accelerate that regeneration. A landmark study, the one that put black currants on my radar years ago, found that participants who consumed blackcurrant extract for just 4 weeks showed measurable improvement in dark adaptation speed. Night driving became easier. Low light reading became easier. Eye fatigue during screen use decreased. These are not small theoretical benefits. When these are things people noticed in their daily lives. How to use it? A small cup, about 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup, of fresh or thawed black currants in the evening. If you can't find fresh black currant jam with no added sugar works, though the anthocyanin concentration is somewhat lower. Black currant extract supplements are also available and well studied. Pro tip: lightly warm your black currants, not cook them, just warm them before eating. This slightly breaks down the cell walls and increases the bioavailability of the anthocyanins. A few seconds in a warm pan, or just letting them sit in warm water for 5 minutes. Small step, real difference. Number 7. Blueberries. Now we're in territory most people recognize. Blueberries have a well-deserved reputation. But I want to go deeper than the general blueberries are good for you conversation because the specific mechanism for eye health is worth understanding. The root cause blueberries target most powerfully is poor microcirculation in the retinal vasculature. Blueberries are extraordinarily rich in a class of compounds called pterostilbene and resveratrol analogs, alongside their well-known anthocyanins. What these compounds do in combination is protect and strengthen the walls of the tiny capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients to your retina. Think about what those capillaries are doing. They're hair thin, they're under constant pressure, they're navigating through tissue that is metabolically active and demanding. And as we age, those vessel walls become more fragile, more permeable, more prone to leaking, which is a significant contributing factor to conditions like diabetic macular edema and wet macular degeneration. Blueberry compounds reduce that permeability. They reinforce those vessel walls, and they improve the overall efficiency with which nutrients reach retinal tissue. A study published in Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science found that regular blueberry consumption was associated with significantly lower rates of retinal vascular damage in older adults, even after controlling for other dietary factors. In practical terms, less morning blur, better sustained visual clarity throughout the day, reduced sensitivity to glare. How to use it: half to 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries before bed. Frozen blueberries are actually excellent. The freezing process breaks down cell walls and can increase bioavailability of anthocyanins compared to fresh. Thaw them to room temperature before eating. Pro tip: do not rinse blueberries until just before eating. That whitish bloom on fresh blueberries, that dusty coating, is called the epicuticular wax, and it contains active antioxidant compounds. Rinsing them early and storing them wet degrades that bloom and reduces potency. Keep them dry until the moment you eat them. Number 6, dragon fruit. Unusual, I know. But the research brought me here, so I'm bringing you here too. Dragon fruit, particularly the red flesh variety, targets something specific: glycation damage in the lens and early cataract formation. Remember glycation, the process where sugar molecules attach to proteins in the eye? The red flesh dragon fruit contains an unusual concentration of betalains, the same pigment compounds found in beets, alongside vitamin C and a suite of antioxidants that have been shown in preliminary research to inhibit the formation of advanced glycation end products in ocular tissue. This is particularly relevant for anyone managing blood sugar, whether diagnosed with diabetes or prediabetes, or simply dealing with the blood sugar fluctuations that become more common after 50. Because glycation isn't limited to people with diabetes. It happens to everyone whose diet is high in refined carbohydrates. It just happens faster and more severely in people with elevated blood sugar. In a study from researchers in Asia, Kwazien, where dragon fruit consumption is far more common, found that regular consumption was associated with measurably lower glycation markers in blood plasma and suggested protective effects on lens protein structure. The vision benefit, in real terms: slower progression of lens clouding, better clarity in high contrast situations, less visual fog, especially in the mornings. How to use it: half a medium red dragon fruit in the evening, a few times a week. The white flesh variety has somewhat lower betaline content, so seek the red if you can. Pro tip: eat dragon fruit with a small amount of healthy fat, a few slices of avocado or a small handful of almonds. Betalains are fat soluble in part, and pairing with healthy fat significantly improves absorption. Most people eat dragon fruit alone and miss a substantial portion of its benefit. Number 5, goji berries. These have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for eye health for literally thousands of years, and modern research has come around to validating what ancient practitioners observed empirically. Goji berries are possibly the single most concentrated dietary source of zeaxanthin on the planet. A small serving, just 2 tablespoons, provides more zeaxanthin than almost any other food. The root cause goji berries target: macular degeneration, the progressive deterioration of the macula, the central, highest resolution part of your retina, that is the leading cause of vision loss in people over 60 worldwide. Not just an antioxidant that happens to be found in the eye, it's a structural component of the macula. Your body concentrates zeaxanthin and lutein in the macular pigment because they are specifically needed there. They absorb damaging blue and UV light before it can damage the photoreceptors underneath. When macular pigment density is high, vision is sharper, colors are more vivid, the eye is better protected against light damage and oxidative stress. When macular pigment density is low, the road to macular degeneration becomes shorter. A clinical trial published in Optometry and Vision Science found that participants who consumed goji berry extract for 3 months showed a statistically significant increase in macular pigment optical density, a direct measurable indicator of retinal protection. Real-world outcomes: sharper central vision, better color discrimination, improved ability to see fine detail. How to use it: 2 to 3 tablespoons of dried goji berries eaten in the evening. Soak them in warm water for 10 to 15 minutes first. This softens them, makes them easier to digest, and slightly increases bioavailability. Pro tip: Goji berries' zeaxanthin content is fat-soluble. Eat them with a source of healthy fat, a few walnut halves, a drizzle of olive oil over a small salad that includes the goji berries. Don't eat them dry and alone. You're leaving significant nutritional value on the table. Number 4, pomegranate. We are getting into the most powerful territory now. Pomegranate is extraordinary. And I say that as someone who doesn't use that word lightly. The root cause pomegranate targets is retinal inflammation and oxidative damage. And it does so through a compound called punicalagin, which is converted in the gut to urolithin A. Urolithin A. This compound has been generating significant excitement in longevity research for its effects on mitochondrial health. Specifically, its ability to trigger a process called mitophagy, the cellular cleanup of damaged mitochondria. Why does this matter for your eyes? Because your photoreceptors, your rod and cone cells, are among the most mitochondria-dense cells in the entire body. They require enormous amounts of cellular energy to function, and when their mitochondria become damaged and dysfunctional, as happens progressively with age, those photoreceptors begin to fail. Urolithin A essentially helps clean house. It helps the cells identify and remove damaged mitochondria and replace them with healthy, functional ones. And preliminary research suggests this process can slow, and in some contexts reverse, the functional decline of photoreceptors. A study published in Nature Aging described urolithin A as having profound effects on mitochondrial and cellular health in aging tissues. The eye research is still emerging, but the mechanistic logic is compelling and the early data is promising. Beyond urolithin A, pomegranate's anthocyanins and ellagic acid have well-documented anti-inflammatory effects on retinal tissue specifically. How to use it? Half a pomegranate's worth of seeds, called arils, in the evening, or 4 to 6 ounces of pure pomegranate juice, no sugar added. If you use juice, check the label carefully. A lot of commercial pomegranate juices are heavily diluted with apple or grape juice. You want pure pomegranate. A pro tip: chew the seeds. Actually chew them thoroughly. The seeds themselves contain compounds that many people simply swallow whole and pass through without absorbing. The act of chewing breaks down the seed coat and releases additional polyphenols. Take your time with pomegranate. Let it be a slow, deliberate thing. Number 3, mango. Now we're at the top of 3, and mango might surprise people here because it has a reputation as a high-sugar fruit, something to be cautious about. But mango's relationship with eye health is specific and significant, and it comes down to one compound in particular, cryptoxanthin, a carotenoid precursor to vitamin A that is found in higher concentrations in mango than in almost any other fruit. At the root cause, mango targets night blindness and photoreceptor depletion caused by vitamin A deficiency or insufficiency. This is more common than people realize. Vitamin A deficiency is not just a problem in developing nations. In the United States, the United Kingdom, across Europe and Australia, subclinical vitamin A insufficiency exists in a meaningful percentage of older adults. It doesn't present as the severe night blindness associated with full deficiency. It presents as slow, subtle deterioration in low-light vision, difficulty adjusting to darkness, increased sensitivity to glare, a general dimming of visual acuity that comes on so gradually you almost don't notice. Cryptoxanthin converts to vitamin A in the body, specifically retinal, the form of vitamin A that your photoreceptors use directly. Your rod cells require a constant supply of retinal derived from retinol to function. Without it, those cells literally cannot process light signals effectively. A study in the Archives of Ophthalmology found that high dietary intake of beta-cryptoxanthin was associated with significantly lower risk of age-related macular degeneration, particularly the neovascular form, which is the more severe vision-threatening type. In real-world terms, better night vision, less glare sensitivity, improved visual function in low-light environments. How to use it: 1 medium mango, or half a large one, eaten in the evening 2 to 3 times per week. The Ataulfo variety, the small, golden, kidney-shaped mango sometimes called honey mango, has a higher cryptoxanthin concentration than the larger Tommy Atkins variety common in U.S. grocery stores. If you have access to it, choose Ataulfo. Pro tip: add a small squeeze of lime to your mango. The citric acid from lime activates certain enzymatic processes that increase the conversion of cryptoxanthin to retinol in the gut. It also, let's be honest, makes mango taste remarkable. This is one of the rare cases where the pro tip is also just delicious. Number 2, avocado. Before you say avocado is a fruit, yes, botanically, avocado is a fruit, and it is arguably the most comprehensively eye-protective food on this entire list. The root cause avocado targets is the most pervasive one on our list. The combined impact of oxidative stress, inflammation, and poor nutrient absorption, all at once. Here is what makes avocado singular. It contains substantial quantities of both lutein and zeaxanthin. The macular carotenoids we've talked about repeatedly on this list. But more importantly than containing them itself, avocado dramatically increases the absorption of carotenoids from every other fruit and vegetable you eat at the same time or shortly before or after. A landmark study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that adding avocado to a meal containing other carotenoid-rich foods increased lutein absorption by up to 400% and beta-carotene absorption by up to 1,200%. 400%, 1,200%. That means every fruit on this list becomes significantly more powerful when eaten alongside or near avocado. Avocado is, in effect, a force multiplier for everything else. Beyond its absorption-enhancing properties, avocado is rich in vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant with strong protective effects on the photoreceptor membranes. The outer membranes of rod and cone cells are made largely of polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are vulnerable to oxidative damage. Vitamin E specifically protects those membranes. Avocado also contains lutein directly. Not in huge quantities, but it's there. And its high oleic acid content and the same healthy fat found in olive oil has been associated with reduced inflammatory signaling in retinal tissue. A study in nutrients found that older adults who consumed avocado regularly showed higher macular pigment optical density, again, that direct measure of retinal protection, compared to those who didn't. How to use it? Half an avocado in the evening, ideally eaten alongside or following some of the other fruits on this list. This is the ideal nutritional pairing: avocado as the last thing you eat before bed, following a small serving of goji berries or blueberries or pomegranate seeds. Pro tip: don't refrigerate avocado after cutting it if you can help it. Cold significantly reduces the bioavailability of its fat-soluble compounds. Eat it at room temperature. If you're storing the other half, press plastic wrap directly against the cut surface, leave the pit in, and let it come fully back to room temperature before eating. Number 1, papaya. This is the one. If I had to choose a single fruit, one fruit, to recommend to someone over 50 who is concerned about their long-term vision, it would be papaya, and here's why. And papaya targets what I consider the foundational root cause of age-related eye disease: the progressive destruction of the retinal pigment epithelium, the layer of cells that supports and maintains your photoreceptors, driven by the combined forces of oxidative stress, inflammation, and mitochondrial dysfunction. Papaya contains one of the highest concentrations of beta-cryptoxanthin of any fruit. It contains lycopene in significant quantities. It contains beta-carotene, which converts to vitamin A. It contains zeaxanthin and lutein. It is rich in vitamin C and vitamin E. It is, in effect, a single fruit that delivers nearly every nutrient on this list in one serving. But what makes papaya genuinely exceptional, what elevates it above a simple collection of nutrients, is a unique enzyme it contains called papain. Papain is a proteolytic enzyme. It breaks down proteins. And in the context of eye health, papain has been found to have a remarkable ability to degrade and clear drusen, the protein deposits that accumulate in the space between the retinal pigment epithelium and the underlying choroid layer as we age. Drusen are one of the earliest, most significant signs of macular degeneration. Their accumulation disrupts the retinal pigment epithelium, starves the photoreceptors of nutrients, and triggers the inflammatory cascade that leads to progressive vision loss. Research from the British Journal of Ophthalmology and follow-up studies have documented the association between high papain intake and lower drusen burden in older adults. The enzyme appears to support the natural clearance mechanisms that slow drusen accumulation. This is not a theoretical benefit. This is addressing the actual structural pathology that underlies the most common form of vision loss in the developed world. Beyond papain, papaya's lycopene content is particularly high in the ripe orange flesh varieties. And as we discussed, lycopene is one of the most effective anti-inflammatory agents known to reach retinal tissue. In practical, real-world terms, the slower progression of macular changes, better sustained visual acuity, improved contrast sensitivity, and comorbid for plafrid over time, a meaningfully lower risk of the kind of vision loss that robs people of their independence. How to use it. 1 cup of ripe papaya flesh, fully ripe, deeply orange, fragrant, eaten in the evening. The papain concentration is highest in fully ripe fruit. Unripe or underripe papaya has significantly less. Pro tip. Papain is partially deactivated by heat. Do not cook your papaya, do not add it to warm dishes, eat it fresh at room temperature, and press a squeeze of lime over it. The vitamin C from the lime not only enhances the flavor, but actively supports the vitamin C levels in the eye tissue, which depletes with age and with light exposure. Papaya with lime in the evening. That is the #1 recommendation I can offer you tonight. Now, I want to give you something to hold on to, because information is only useful if it becomes a habit. And habits need to be simple. So here are 5 rules, 5 simple, practical rules that will make everything I just shared with you significantly more effective. Rule 1, avoid dairy with these fruits. I mentioned this for kiwi, and it applies across the list. And dairy proteins, casein in particular, bind to certain polyphenols and carotenoids in the digestive tract and reduce their absorption. This is well documented in nutritional research and often overlooked. If you want the full benefit of your evening eye fruits, don't eat them with milk, yogurt, or cheese. Give yourself at least an hour of separation. Rule 2, add healthy fats. Most of the compounds on this list, lutein, zeaxanthin, lycopene, beta-carotene, vitamin E, betalains, are fat soluble. Your body cannot absorb them efficiently without dietary fat present in the digestive system at the same time. Avocado is the perfect pairing, as we discussed. A small handful of walnuts or almonds works well. A drizzle of high-quality olive oil over a fruit salad. Don't eat these fruits alone on an empty stomach if you can help it. Rule 3, wash your fruits gently. This sounds small. But the outer surface of many fruits, that bloom on blueberries, the delicate skin of kiwi, the surface of goji berries, contains active compounds that are stripped away by harsh washing, long soaking, or scrubbing. Rinse gently under cool water. Use your hands, not a brush, for delicate berries, and as mentioned, don't rinse blueberries until the moment before you eat them. Rule 4, eat these fruits at room temperature. Cold fruit slows digestion slightly and can reduce the enzymatic processes that help break down cell walls and release phytonutrients. This is particularly relevant for papaya. The papain is most active at room temperature. For black currants, anthocyanin bioavailability improves with mild warmth. And for avocado. Fat-soluble nutrients absorb better when the fat is not chilled and solid. If your fruits are coming out of the refrigerator, let them sit for 15 to 20 minutes before eating. It's a small step. Rule 5, eat these fruits 60 to 90 minutes before bed. This is the timing rule, and it's probably the most important one. Your body's most active repair processes occur in the early phases of deep sleep, roughly 90 minutes to 4 hours after you fall asleep. For nutrients consumed before bed to be available during this window, they need to be through the digestive process and in circulation. That takes roughly 60 to 90 minutes for most fruit. So the ideal protocol is something like this: a small evening serving of 1 or 2 of these fruits alongside something with healthy fat. It's 60 to 90 minutes before you plan to sleep, not immediately before bed, not as a midnight snack, an hour before bed, consistently over time. That consistency is what transforms these fruits from an occasional nice thing into a genuine strategy. Let me come back to where we started. That restaurant moment, the squinting at the menu, the night driving, the dryness in the afternoon. I want to offer you something, not false hope, not a promise that these 10 fruits will cure everything or reverse decades of damage overnight. That would be dishonest, and you deserve honesty. But this, your eyes are not passive. They are not simply deteriorating on a fixed timeline that you have no influence over. The cells in your retina, even aging cells, even stressed cells, respond to their nutritional environment. They respond to what you provide them. When you eat the right things at the right time, your body uses those materials. Your photoreceptors use those carotenoids. Your capillaries use those anthocyanins. Your mitochondria use those polyphenols to clean house and function better. This is biology, not magic. Biology, and biology is something you can work with. I have spoken to people, patients and community members both, who made these kinds of nutritional changes and came back to me months later saying things like, "I read my whole book last Sunday without stopping. That hasn't happened in 3 years." Or, "I drove home from dinner last week and the headlights didn't bother me, not like they used to." These are not grand, miraculous reversals. They are quiet victories, but they are victories. Or the ability to read a bedside book is not a small thing when you thought you were losing it. The ability to drive yourself independently without fear, that is not a small thing. The ability to look across a crowded room and recognize the face of someone you love, that is not a small thing. That is everything. And it starts maybe with a cup of blueberries before bed, a slice of papaya with lime, half an avocado alongside some goji berries you soaked while you made dinner. It starts small, quiet, consistent, the same way the damage accumulated, the same way the repair can happen. If this video helped you, if anything in it gave you something useful, something you'll take into your evening tonight, please do a few things for me. Hit the like button. It sounds like a small thing, but it tells the platform that this kind of content is worth sharing, and it helps me reach more people who need it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I release new content every week. Always research grounded, always practical, always focus on the things that actually matter for health over 50. And share this with someone. Share it with a parent, a friend, someone over 60 who's been quietly struggling with their vision and doesn't know there's anything they can do about it outside of a doctor's office and a pharmacy. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just pass the right information to the right person at the right moment. That's how things change, one conversation at a time. Now, I have to say this, and I say it every time because it matters. Everything in this video is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. It is not a diagnosis. It is not a treatment plan. If you are experiencing significant changes in your vision, sudden changes especially, or anything accompanied by pain, flashes of light, or a curtain-like shadow across your field of view, please see an eye doctor immediately. Those can be signs of something that needs prompt medical attention, and no amount of fruit will address an emergency. For chronic, gradual changes, the kind most of us experience as we age, what I'm sharing today may offer real, meaningful support alongside your regular eye care. But alongside, not instead of. Talk to your doctor, especially if you're on medications or managing a chronic condition. Okay, this is Dr. Anton, reminding you to take care of your eyes. They've been carrying you through every moment of your life. Give them what they need tonight.